In 1999, a man walked into a Wells Fargo bank in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and calmly demanded cash. At first, he was cool and recalled, "No threats, no chaos." He simply asked for the money, claiming it wasn't for him, but for a greater cause, to help poor Native Americans and address the injustices they faced. It almost sounded noble. But soon, the true nature of his crimes would become clear. Each new heist revealed his fiery violence. He was fast, tough, and always well protected. He didn't hesitate to use force when things didn't go his way. What began as a supposed noble act quickly spiraled into a dangerous spree that left fear in its wake. FBI investigators vowed to bring him down, risking their lives to track the violent felon. But at every turn, they were met with dangerous surprises. This was no ordinary bank robber. He was clever, unpredictable, and always one step ahead. As the manhunt intensified, law enforcement realized they were chasing someone with nothing to lose, someone who would stop at nothing to escape. This is the story of how one man, under the guise of charity, unleashed a wave of terror, pushing investigators to their limits in the desperate bid to stop him before it was too late. A story full of twists and unexpected events. So make sure to watch until the end. In the heart of Albuquerque, Byron Chubak embarked on a criminal journey that would leave the city reeling. His first robbery was executed with a calm demeanor that belied the chaos he was about to unleash. On that fateful day, he walked into a local Wells Fargo bank with an air of confidence, demanding cash without raising an alarm. This initial success only fueled his audacity. In a matter of hours, he struck again, robbing multiple banks in a single day, leaving behind little evidence and no fingerprints. To law enforcement, he was a ghost. As news of the robberies spread, local police and FBI agents sprang into action. Special Agents Scott Campbell and John Tanberg of the Albuquerque FBI were first to respond. What began as standard investigation quickly evolved into a complex manhunt. Arriving at the scene, agents were met with an unsettling calm. Witnesses later recalled that Byron Chubak had walked into the Wells Fargo bank with such confidence, demanding cash without causing any commotion. Most of the customers had no idea a robbery was unfolding. They were of no shouts, no chaos, just a chilling silence that would haunt those present. Agents learned that Chubak had executed his plan with chilling precision. He moved swiftly, collecting cash from tellers, all while maintaining a demeanor that suggested he was in complete control. But the description they gathered was vague. Just a white male, possibly Hispanic, with dark hair, an average build, wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap. This lack of distinct features would prove to be a significant hurdle for investigators. Despite their thorough examination of the bank's interior, technicians found no usable fingerprints or physical evidence left behind. The security cameras had captured footage of the robber, but the quality was poor. Grainy, indistinct images that failed to provide a clear view of his face. So they managed to find no trace of her magnifying glass and non-reasonable, make it the nicest glass ever. They looked for 9:30 p.m. But then a crucial break came. A neighbor who lived behind the bank had seen a man fleeing the scene, running around the corner just moments after the robbery. What stood out to investigators was a cloud of red mist following him, a telltale sign that he had triggered a dye pack hidden among the stolen cash. This was their man. The witness provided a vital piece of information, a full license plate number of a vehicle registered in Nevada. This led investigators to believe that Chubak wasn't a local. He was likely passing through Albuquerque. A quick check of the license plate revealed the vehicle's owner, linked to an address in a motel off the Las Vegas Strip. It seemed plausible that the address was a cover to throw off law enforcement. But as agents dug deeper, the investigation hit a dead end. Determined not to lose momentum, agents decided to take another approach. They ran the plate through a credit bureau and received an unexpected hit. The vehicle was tied to an address in Wyoming. An agent there interviewed the registered owner who had an alibi for the day of the robberies. He was in Wyoming interviewing for a job as a postal worker. His alibi confirmed by his supervisor. But then came a twist. The owner revealed that he no longer had the car. It was now in the hands of his ex-wife, Carol, who lived in Albuquerque. This revelation sent investigators back to square one, but it also opened a new avenue of investigation. Was there a connection between Carol and Chubak? FBI agents tracked down Carol, eager to gather information about the vehicle and its connection to the robberies. When they spoke with her, she revealed that on the day of the robbery, she had been at work. While she had a large family who often borrowed her car, she couldn't say who had it on the day in question. There was something troubling. Carol noticed that the car was lower on gas than when she had left it. This detail raised suspicions, particularly in light of the dye pack explosion during the robbery. Agents searched the car but found no traces of red dye or every evidence. Still, the coincidence of her car being tied to a robbery while also registered in Nevada seemed too significant to ignore. Carol's account felt suspicious, but there was no hard evidence connecting her directly to the crimes. Time passed and the robberies continued. Then, in March, Chubak struck again, this time hitting multiple banks in rapid succession. His method remained the same: enter quickly, demand cash, and leave with no trace. But as his spree continued, Chubak grew bolder. He began taking more risks, moving behind teller counters, demanding money from multiple drawers at once. His unpredictability increased, and law enforcement feared he was becoming more violent, possibly under the influence of narcotics. He even began making bizarre statements after his robberies, talking about using the stolen money to help starving children in Mexico. By June, better security footage had been obtained. Still, there was no physical evidence connecting Chubak to the robberies, but agents had one crucial lead. These new images of Chubak, though grainy, were their best chance yet. In a bold move, the FBI dubbed him Robin the Hood, playing on his dubious claims of using stolen cash for charity. Local media quickly picked up the story, only fueling Chubak's notoriety. He reveled in the attention, sometimes taunting tellers with lines like, "You know who I am. I'm Robin the Hood." Despite the growing public recognition, agents remained skeptical. They suspected that, like many bank robbers before him, Chubak was financing a drug habit or other criminal activities with his stolen cash. After 14 robberies and no solid leads, all eyes turned back to Carol's car, their only remaining connection to the elusive Robin the Hood. Then, in August, Carol reached out again, this time with crucial information that would change everything. Now 8 months pregnant, Carol contacted FBI agent Scott Campbell with urgent news. "I have some information that will solve the cases." In that moment, everything changed. Carol revealed that the man behind the mask of the notorious bank robber was none other than her husband, Byron Chubak. She insisted on meeting in person to explain further. As agents took cover prepared for the encounter, they pulled Chubak's record and discovered a troubling history of violence and gang affiliations in St. Louis. You know, just in case you don't know, this is Double Up to the City. The world's top medic and investigator, Angel Dukaboff and Gang Pharaoh, had already made the medical and physical cascade in the St. Louis. Carol explained that Chubak had recently moved back to St. Louis and things had escalated beyond control. She begged for agents to arrest him quickly, fearing retaliation from his gang. But as they spoke, a vehicle pulled up outside her apartment. Carol looked out the window and gasped, "It's him." In split second, agents made a crucial decision. They hid in the bedroom, preparing for a confrontation that could turn violent at any moment. Special Agent Campbell had already devised a plan in case Chubak showed up. What followed was chaos. Gunfire echoed through the apartment, and for a terrifying moment, Agent Campbell mistakenly fired at Carol, nearly hitting her. But miraculously, no one was seriously hurt. With the danger still very real, agents stayed in their defensive position, awaiting backup. The local police quickly arrived, securing the perimeter and ensuring the safety of everyone inside. It was the break they had been waiting for. They were finally close to bringing down the notorious Robin the Hood. But would they be in time to stop him from striking again? Stay tuned to see how this intense manhunt came to a dramatic conclusion and what happened when Chubak's reign of terror finally came to an end. The neighborhood was on edge and law enforcement was locked in a tense standoff. Lieutenant Terry Ward of the Albuquerque Police Department's Special Investigations Division expressed serious concern about how the situation might end. Given Byron Chubak's violent history and his willingness to engage law enforcement in gunfights, it was clear this could very well be his last stand. Then a breakthrough! An officer spotted Chubak through the window of an apartment just 2 doors down from where he had been cornered. A standoff began as authorities surrounded the building, but Chubak showed no signs of surrender. Silence filled the air as the situation escalated. For 3 agonizing hours, there was no communication. And then, in a split second, Chubak made a break for it, heading straight for an apartment just down the hall. The authorities wasted no time deploying a beanbag round lethal force meant to stun him without causing serious harm. Miraculously, no one was injured. Chubak was swiftly arrested and transported back to the FBI office for booking, charged with 14 counts of bank robbery and assault on federal agents. He received a 40-year sentence. But Chubak had no intention of serving those 40 years. A few months later, on December 21st, 2000, he made a bold move. He filed to fire his court-appointed attorneys and withdraw his guilty plea. This set the stage for something far more daring than anyone could have anticipated. As he was being transported back to the Santa Fe Correctional Facility, Chubak executed a daring escape. Somehow, he had obtained a handcuff key, freeing himself from both his wrist and ankle restraints. In a flash, he kicked out the van window and began climbing out. The driver heard a loud bang, assuming it was an accident, but when he turned to look, he was shocked to see Chubak halfway out of the window. The guards tried to intervene, but Chubak was too fast. In an instant, he was on the run. News of the escape spread quickly, and the hunt was on. U.S. Marshals and local police coordinated a massive manhunt involving K-9 units, helicopters, and roadblocks. They knew this was no ordinary fugitive. With a history of violence, they had to find him before he could hurt anyone else. Hours passed. Private investigators scoured the streets, but their search yielded no clues. Just when they thought they were out of options, a local woman came forward with an alarming report. She had been carjacked by a man fitting Chubak's description. He ordered her to drive to the outskirts of town before releasing her unharmed. With this new lead, investigators refocused their search, but again, they came up empty. The manhunt was called off at 9 p.m. The clock was ticking. Chubak could have traveled hundreds of miles by now, and the trail had gone cold. In shifting tactics, authorities began interviewing family members and associates of Chubak. Resistance was fierce. The brutal gang to which Chubak belonged wasn't going to give him up easily. The U.S. Marshal Service placed Chubak on their most wanted list, knowing his desperation and violent tendencies made him extremely dangerous. But even with the FBI keeping a close watch on gang hotspots, Chubak remained strangely silent for days. Investigators knew it wouldn't be long before his heavy drug habit forced him to make a move. he would need money for meth. Then on February 5th, 2001, a pivotal moment arrived. A letter from Byron Chubak was dropped off at the local radio station. The morning DJ, TJ Trout, was stunned by its contents. Chubak laid out specific conditions for his surrender. He demanded a live radio interview and wanted to implicate law enforcement officials he believed had treated him poorly. If his demands were met, he promised to surrender peacefully. Skeptical but intrigued, TJ read the letter on air and urged Chubak to call back. Moments later, the phone rang. Chubak was on the other end, agitated, paranoid, and claiming that law enforcement was trying to kill him. He described a shootout at his home with his pregnant wife present and ended the call ominously stating, "Hell no, you can't contact me again." Realizing the gravity of the situation, the station immediately alerted law enforcement. Fingerprints on the letter confirmed it was Chubak's. Security footage from the station gave authorities a clear image of the person who dropped it off, leading them to Ronald Baker, a known associate of Chubak's gang. With this crucial information, law enforcement turned their attention to Ronald Baker's mobile home. As investigators closed in on the location, they received another break. One of Chubak's associates, facing charges of carjacking, had agreed to cooperate with law enforcement under heavy pressure. Wearing a wiretap, he entered Baker's trailer in search of information about Chubak's whereabouts. Inside the trailer, tension mounted. The informant's questions about Chubak were met with evasive responses, and every second felt like a lifetime. The stakes couldn't have been higher. If the gang realized the informant was working with law enforcement, his life would be at risk. But despite the risks, the investigators were certain they were close. As the operation unfolded, Detective Richard Lewis spotted a vehicle linked to Chubak parked nearby. Recognizing the opportunity, he made a split-second decision. He maneuvered his car into Chubak's, forcing a crash that would ultimately determine the fugitive's fates. In the aftermath of the crash, officers approached cautiously. They found Chubak lying motionless on the ground with a gunshot wound to his chest, but still alive. His accomplice, Ronald Baker, was arrested at the scene. For the second time, Byron Chubak faced justice. Charged again with 14 counts of robbery and other crimes, Chubak's original sentence of 40 years was extended to 80 years. But in 2016, 25 years were taken off his sentence after a successful appeal. Chubak was undeniably intelligent, but sadly, he chose to use his intellect for unlawful means. Yet, despite his cunning, it was law enforcement's perseverance and determination that ultimately brought this dangerous criminal and his associates to justice. It's because of their tireless efforts that a violent criminal who once terrorized the streets is now behind bars. A reminder that justice never stops, no matter how dangerous or elusive the fugitive.